Hello and welcome to today's Facecast. We're in the book of Joshua, the Old Testament book of Joshua this morning. In the world in which we live today, there might be a feeling that we're up against all sorts of forces of evil or wrongdoing or misrepresentation of how we should be living and what sort of life we should have. There's an increase in crime and violent crime. We're just hearing this week about 3 young men who are about to be sentenced after being convicted of the crime of killing a police officer. How awful is that? It's not new though, is it? It's not unusual in our day and age that these sorts of crimes happen. And crime happens every day. There's a proliferation of pornography and sexual crime, it would seem, amongst all reaches and parts of society. And something that preachers like me often do is to stand up in front of their church and say how dreadful, how awful the world is and how much it needs God and the Word of God and Jesus. Well, we say that and we mean that, and it's true, but it gets taken for granted, and we don't really understand sometimes just how far we've moved as a society away from the godly, the biblical understanding of life and how we should be living it. God knows this, which is why he tells us to read his word. His word, the books of the Bible, are not just writings. They are him and his thoughts written down on paper. And when we read it, we're reading a living document. Hard to understand that sometimes, but that's what we're doing. And in the book of Joshua, at the beginning of it, chapter 1, verse 8, God says this to Joshua. He's encouraging him to go and do the work he's calling him to do. Go into this land I'm telling you to go to, he's saying, and I will give you everything that you seek, everything that you need, and all the land that you enter, you will be able to possess. And he tells him to be strong and courageous because you'll lead the people to inherit this land. Again, be strong and very courageous. In verse 8 he says this, "Do not let this book of the law depart from your mouth. Meditate on it day and night, so that you may be careful to do everything written in it. Then you will be prosperous and successful." That's a very strong and clear word of God to Joshua for that particular task. But it's not just to Joshua, it's to all of us, for all generations of all peoples. We can all read that as if God is writing that to us personally, because he is. It's amazing. Do not let this book of the law depart from your mouth. These first books of the Bible are considered to be the Mosaic law. They were written in the time of Moses, and they outline not just the law in the way that we think of it, the do's and don'ts, the rights and wrongs of what we should do before we transgress the law, but we should consider this law as the law of life, the way we should be living. So these books of the law are spelling out to Joshua and to us all of these things, how we should be living our lives. And God says to him, do not let this depart from you. Do not leave this alone. Do not ignore this. Do not forget this. It's so important that we are full of what this says. For most people in Britain today, we are full of it. We might not realise we are, but we are, because we have a Christian heritage to depend upon and live to and live out. Do not depart from it. Be careful that you do everything that's written in it. And then it finishes, and then you will be prosperous and successful. Well, we all want to be successful in life. That is to propagate a good life and a rich life, rich in relationships and friendships and love. We want to be prosperous in the sense that we want to do good things and see those things prosper and work well. This isn't talking about being financially prosperous. It's being successful in the things that you set out to do and achieve. We all want those things, and this is saying we can do those things and achieve those things. And he's saying this to Joshua right at the beginning of his very important ministry and life for God. Don't ignore what's in this book, he says to him. Stick to it, learn from it, apply it, and you too can live this way. It's a great law for us to obey and to take heed of. Enough for today. Have a great one. See you soon.